Thank you for stopping by. Welcome to my very first tutorial. So let's get started. I like to start off with the white or the cream, and I do it under the eye, just on top of the eyelid, on top of the nose, by the side of the nose, and just along the top of the lips. This creates a really nice highlight on the face. I then get my light flesh tone. These are all Fabre Castel pencils that I'm using, but you can use whatever ones you like, whatever you find easier. I then start working my way all the way around the lines that I've already made, especially on the tops of the lines, and I just work them all the way along. I leave the little bit in the middle white because that's going to be the highlight, and I work it all the way up into the hairline and down the side of the cheek. Just small circular motions. You want to keep your pencil really light because then that'll allow you to layer it up and put more colours on top of each other and make your picture more vibrant. Fabre Castel pencils are really good for layering, as long as you don't go down too hard, because when you go down too hard you can burnish the pencil and then it's hard to do anything with it after that. So take it all the way down to the chin, and I always do a little line that's just in a little bit from the pencil line that I've done, because that helps to create a rounder effect on the face. I'm just speeding it up a little bit now because I'm aware that it's going to take a really long time to do this part. So I'm just basically going round and round all of the face, getting a little bit darker where I want to add definition. So I'm going to try and build up the bridge of the nose. And so I colour in all of the nose and up the side of the nose. And once I start to see the bridge of the nose coming in naturally, I bring round where the bag under the eye is going to be. So just small circular motions and just keep doing that. And as you can see, you can make it darker and darker in areas just with the same pencil, just by going over it again and again. So always make it a little bit darker around the eye and up into the hairline, because this is where the shadow, if you imagine the hair coming over the face, it creates a bit of a shadow. So then I colour in all of the nose, and I leave that little bit in the centre that's round where I did earlier with the cream, because that adds a nice highlight. I also go underneath the nose, because if you imagine again, there's going to be a shadow there. And I can see the bridge of the nose starting to come in now. So I'm starting to go over it again and again with strokes that go inwards, so that starts to give the effect of the nose sticking out from the rest of the face. I also do a little line in from the nose, the line where I've drawn, because again that helps to build up the illusion of the nose being round. And once I'm happy with where I want the bag under the eye to go, I start using different strokes in the direction of the way the face would go, if that makes sense. So I'm now doing the cheek. And if you start from the inside and work your way in, you naturally get to see the face become rounder. I think if it's darker on the outside, it helps. So I'm now going to use the medium skin tone, and I do a distinct line over the top of the line I've already done. And then just slowly start to shade the colour out from there up into the hairline. This part of her head is going to be darker because the hair's hanging over that way. So I just continue to do all of it quite dark. I will go over it again with a darker brown in the next stages. But yeah, I try to keep a little bit of a T-bone area that's a bit lighter where the bridge of the nose is going to be as well. And so with a medium tone, start to go in over the eye again. And if you do little squiggles, I just like the effect you get when you do little squiggles. And so with the nose, I'm now going with the darker medium flesh tone over where I've already been, and emphasising that circle. And then emphasising the eye and the bag under the eye. And then I give her some eyeshadow. So we have got the turquoise blue. It's cobalt turquoise. And I like to have a lighter tone for the first layer. And then I'm going to use that in the eye as well on this occasion. But you can use any colours you like within your eye, on your eyes or on your eyeshadow. And so when you do the little circular motions in the eye, you start to naturally see like a little marble effect. So with the darker pencil, you can go over that and start to emphasise those little lines. And then from the pupil of the eye, you make it darker, and then little swift lines coming out from the pupil. So just continuing with the darker blue, and you go all the way around the outside of the eye. If you make it really dark, that helps to give the illusion of the eye being round. And then from the little swirls that you've done, just inward strokes, so from the outside inwards. And then you make it really dark up at the top of the eye, because that's where the shadow's going to be. Because if you imagine the lid of the eye coming over the top of the eye. And then I do the darker blue in the eyeshadow, over in the corners and up in the top. And you can start to use that blue or a purple or any colour you like, just to add a little bit of a shadow above the eye, and that it helps to create the illusion of there being a bit of depth. I then use the burnt umber brown here. I don't always use these colours. I mess around with different colours all the time, so there's no right or wrong way with your colours. I think it's just finding colours that can create different effects for you. But with this pencil, I'm going along the hairline and I'm creating a bit more of a shadow, and in between the hair as well, because it's going to be darker in there. And then you start to see the illusion of it looking like the hair is protruding from the face, causing a shadow. And so you want to eventually put some black in there, and then that'll start to create the illusion even further. I do the same with the nose. So it's always going to be darker on the rims of the nose. So whatever colour you've originally started with, you just make it darker each layer, and then make sure the bottom part of the nose is darker. I'm now taking the shade underneath the nose, because you imagine the nose is sticking out over the top of the mouth, causing a bit of a shadow. So I'm taking it all the way down just to before the lips in a round sort of shape. It doesn't look very pretty at the minute, but it does help to create the illusion of a shadow. I've done the same with the eye, just a darker line. I then get the geranium pink, I think this one is. And from the outside, again, working your way in. I always start on the outside and slowly work your way in, because that helps you to see where you want your cheek to be, and it gives you more control over your picture. So just small circular motions, and you begin to see where the cheek is. And you just continue to take that in, and then you can use the same colour on your nose, on the bottom of the nose, and taking it up round that little circle, and then inside your eye as well. So when you get your colours that you like using, you can use them all over the face. Try experiment and use them in different places to get different effects. I then use the black to emphasise the bottom of the nose to help create the illusion of the shadow, and same over the top of the eye. I always make it really dark over the top of the eye, and then just little bits on the side of the eye and at the bottom of the eye, just to emphasise it a bit. I'm then using white on the bridge of the nose and inside the eye to help make the eye look more realistic. The whites of our eyes aren't pure white, so it's good to use some shadows and even some lemons or greys in there as well. So with the lips, from the top of the lip down to the bottom, just swipe down little lines, and then again from the middle of the lips down, and then from the top up, if that makes sense. And then that starts to give the feeling of the natural shape of the lips with the natural creases, and make it really, really dark where the opening of the mouth is going to be. Keep a little bit paler so that you can see the highlight on the lips. And then with the darker shade, do the exact same thing. So from the middle of the mouth, little strokes upwards and then downwards on the bottom, and then same from the bottom of the lip up and from the top of the lip down. I do hope I'm making sense. Then with your black, just emphasise that central line, and you can put a little bit of black in between to get the shadow, and then just highlighting again on the nose, the nostrils. So the inside of the eye, I'm just on this one just deciding that this is the sparkle I'm going to have, and with a paler brown just start to make a little bit of a shadow underneath the eye, because the eye is going to be protruding out, and then colour the whole of the pupil of the eye in this pale brown, just little circular motions, and make sure it's a little bit darker on the outsides, and that helps to give the depth of the eye. I always do brown first and then I do black over the top, and that helps to build up the depth. I really like it when I do it that way. And so just continuing to make the pupil black, and then just on the outsides darker, and then that starts to give the illusion of a circle. And just make sure there isn't any white or anything from the outside. You want that to be as dark, as black as possible, and same at the top. And then little sweeping motions over from one side to the other to leave the central bit just a little bit lighter, and then that's quite a good effect. I then use the Ivory for the rest of the face, the bits that I want to be a bit lighter, and I find the Ivory, if you go over the top of the skin tone with the Ivory as well, they help to make the drawing look a bit more cohesive. They bring it all together. And so I'm emphasising the bridge of the nose now. I've decided that's where I want it to be. And so just doing a few more strokes over this area, and then little lines in towards, and then just building up the rest of the nose. So with the light flesh tone, I am now going over the top of the nose, and I'm going to have a prominent whiter line going up the side, and that helps to add definition. I am using the pale skin tone just to have a little bit darker underneath the nose, and just building it up along the bridge of the nose. And now with the darker skin tone, because I'm happy now with where the back of the eye is and where the bridge of the nose is, that I'll just make it a lot darker in here. And that gives you the illusion of the shadow of the nose coming over the face. So I'm now going in with the purple over the eye, and just emphasising some of the original lines and just making it a bit more vibrant. Darker again at the very top of the eye, because this is where the shadow is going to be. And then again going over it with the blue eyeshadow. Just, you find now that by going over it again and again and again, you start to build up the vibrancy. I'm hoping that that's coming across. And so with the darker blue, I always have the darker shade on the outskirts of the eye, so over the top of the lid, and then with that same blue, bringing some of that colour into her eye. I'm hoping that it's starting to look like it's coming together now. And now with the red, I am now emphasising her lips a bit more, so just little circular motions and just making it a lot darker in the centre, because this is the shadow again. Once you start playing around, you start to get used to where the darker areas should be. So I'm just rubbing out a little bit of the mouth that I had drawn, but I don't think I need that little bit now. That's a good thing with Fabre Castel pencils as well. Before you build up too much colour, you can rub them out, which is really nice. So now just going over again with the pink and trying to build up her cheek, and I'll just eventually make it darker and darker. And I sometimes put little hearts on her cheek, or anything really, little flowers. It's quite nice. So now you can see that I'm going darker again on the nose and keeping it darker on the outside. And then on the bridge of the nose, bringing in some brown just to emphasise the shadow. I'm hoping that it's starting to come together and that making sense. This is my very first tutorial, and I will do individual ones. So I'll do an eye properly without it being speeded up. I'll do a nose, and I will do some lips, and I'll eventually go on to do whimsical girls and hairstyles and things. So hopefully this is the start of me doing quite a few little tutorials to help anyone who wants to draw girls in my style. I'm now going over with the brown and just emphasising the crease of the eye and building up a little bit of shadow in there, bringing it up the side of the head and up into the hairline and down the side of the eye, just creating that little bit of shadow where the hair is going to be, hanging over her face. Sorry, I'm mixing up my words now. I'm now putting a shadow under her lip. Again, that lets you see that the lip is coming out a little bit from the rest of the face. And then just still building up the colour on her cheek. So do get in touch and let me know what you want me to demonstrate. If you want me to do eyes, if you want me to do 2 eyes, or do the full nose and the lips, it'd be really nice to hear from you. And please do come over and connect with me on my Facebook. I am a Dash of Dee on Facebook, and also a Dash of Dee on Instagram. It would be really lovely to have you over there. It's so nice to connect with lots of like-minded people. So I'm now using the ivory and just going back over where I've already been, and you can see that the more you start to go over, the more it starts to build up, the more vibrant it becomes. And then I'm putting more white in to emphasise the white. You can also use your Posca pens on the highlights of her eyes, so you could go in and put some little dots in there with the Posca pen and along the top of her eyelid as well, and on her nose. They're quite good for that. So I'm just continuing now using the black to emphasise the shadow that's coming over her nose and just underneath her nose. So always a little bit darker the closer into the nose, and then let it get lighter as it goes out, and then the same on the top of her nose. And then inside her mouth, just find that you can put lines in and then later on think, oh, it needs another line in there. So you just always add in layer upon layer upon layer to build up the vibrancy. The same with her lips. I've already used red, but now I'm going in over the top of the red with pink, and just finding where I want the highlights to be and just making it really darker in the centre. I'm using the same pink on her nose and on her eyes as well. And I quite like using all the same colours, keeping it all cohesive. And then with the cream, I'm just putting a little bit of cream in there now as well. Just have a play. It's quite nice to try all the different colours and see. It's really good as well with the yellows. When you start putting the yellows over the pinks and things, you start to see them look really vibrant, makes them pop. So I'm just going to continue going over again with layer upon layer. I think I've told you quite a few little tips and things. I'm hoping that I've made a bit of sense, and I'm just going to put some music on now and let you enjoy the rest of the shading in. Thank you for joining me.